Hello there, beautiful soul, and welcome back to another peaceful journey with Sleepy Long Scientist. Tonight, as you settle into your cozy spot and let the day's worries gently drift away, I want to share something truly magical with you. Right now, as you're listening to my voice, there's something extraordinary happening inside your chest that you've probably never thought about. Your heart, that faithful companion that's been with you since before your first breath, is quietly doing something remarkable. It's thinking, not just pumping blood through your gentle body, but actually processing information, making decisions and holding wisdom that your mind doesn't even know about. So take a deep breath, let your shoulders soften, and if you haven't already, gently tap that subscribe button for more sleepy science adventures. Tonight, we're going to discover the secret intelligence living right inside your chest. You know that moment when someone you love walks into a room, and before you even see them, something in your chest just knows they're there? Or maybe you remember a time when you were about to make a big decision and your mind was telling you one thing, but something deep in your chest was whispering something completely different. I think we've all had those quiet moments when our heart seemed to understand something our brain hadn't figured out yet. Maybe it was when you met someone special and felt that gentle flutter that told you this person was going to matter, long before your thoughts caught up. Or perhaps it was during a difficult time when grief felt like a physical weight pressing against your ribs, as if your heart was carrying emotions too big for your mind to hold. These aren't just poetic metaphors or romantic notions that we've invented to make life feel more mysterious. What if I told you that these experiences are actually your heart's intelligence at work? That gentle knowing, that chest-deep certainty, that physical feeling of love or loss, it's all coming from a very real, very scientific source. Your heart truly does have its own way of thinking, its own way of knowing, and tonight we're going to explore this beautiful secret that's been beating quietly inside you all along, waiting for you to discover just how wise it really is. Let me tell you about one of the most beautiful discoveries that science has quietly uncovered in recent decades. Something that might change the way you think about the gentle rhythm in your chest forever. Deep within your heart, nestled among the muscle fibers that work so faithfully to keep you alive, there are approximately 40,000 neurons. Yes, you heard that right. 40,000 tiny nerve cells, quietly processing information, making connections, and essentially creating what scientists now call the heart's intrinsic nervous system. It's like having a small, peaceful brain right there in your chest, working away without you ever knowing it was there. This isn't just a poetic way of describing how your heart feels important to you. This is real, measurable neuroscience happening inside your body right now. These neurons in your heart are remarkably similar to the ones in your brain, forming their own neural networks, creating their own pathways of communication, and most surprisingly, making their own decisions. Your heart doesn't just wait around for your brain to tell it what to do. It processes information independently, responds to situations on its own, and sends far more signals up to your brain than it receives back down. In fact, about 80% of the communication between your heart and brain flows upward, from your chest to your head, which means your heart is constantly teaching your brain about what's happening in your world. Think about this for a moment as you breathe softly and feel that steady rhythm in your chest. Every single heartbeat involves this intricate nervous system, making thousands of tiny decisions about timing, pressure, and rhythm. Your heart is literally thinking about how to best serve your body's needs, moment by moment, adjusting and adapting based on information it gathers from hormones, emotions, physical activity, and even your thoughts. It's processing all of this data with the same kind of neural networks that your brain uses, just in a quieter, more focused way. What makes this even more fascinating is that your heart's nervous system has both sensory neurons that gather information and motor neurons that make things happen, just like your brain does. It can sense chemical changes in your blood, detect emotional shifts through hormone levels, and even respond to the electromagnetic fields created by other people's hearts when they're close to you. This means your heart is constantly taking in information about your inner and outer world, processing it through its own neural networks, and making decisions about how to respond. The ancient cultures somehow knew this already, didn't they? For thousands of years, people have talked about the wisdom of the heart, about following your heart, about knowing something in your heart of hearts. The Egyptians believed the heart was the center of intelligence and consciousness. Traditional Chinese medicine has always recognized the heart as the emperor of all organs, coordinating and directing the body's wisdom. Native American traditions speak of heart-knowing as a different and deeper kind of understanding than mind-knowing. These weren't just beautiful metaphors or spiritual beliefs, they were intuitive recognitions of a biological reality that modern science is only now beginning to understand and measure. Your heart's neural network is particularly good at detecting patterns and rhythms, which makes sense when you think about its primary job of maintaining the complex rhythm of your heartbeat. But this pattern recognition ability extends far beyond just keeping time. Your heart can detect emotional patterns in relationships, recognize when something feels off in a situation, and sense the underlying rhythms and flows in your life that your conscious mind might miss. It's like having a gentle, wise counselor living in your chest, quietly noting the patterns and offering its own form of guidance. What's truly remarkable is that this heart-brain can learn and remember. It forms memories of experiences, particularly emotional ones, and uses these memories to inform future decisions. This is why certain songs can make your heart race with remembered joy, why walking into a place where something sad happened can create that heavy feeling in your chest, or why being around certain people makes your heart feel lighter, while others make it feel closed and protected. Your heart is literally remembering and responding based on its own stored wisdom. As you settle deeper into relaxation tonight, take a moment to appreciate this incredible intelligence that's been with you all along. Every gentle thump in your chest represents not just a mechanical pump doing its job, but a thinking, feeling, remembering part of you that processes your world with its own unique form of consciousness. Your heart has been quietly thinking alongside you through every experience of your life, storing its own version of your story, and offering its own gentle form of guidance whenever you're still enough to listen. Have you ever noticed how sometimes your body knows something before your mind catches up? That split second when you're walking down a dark street and your heart suddenly starts beating faster, even though you haven't consciously seen or heard anything threatening yet. Or that moment when you meet someone new and instantly feel either drawn to them or slightly uncomfortable, long before you've had time to form any logical thoughts about who they might be. These aren't mysterious psychic phenomena or coincidences. They're your heart's intelligence working at lightning speed, processing information and making decisions faster than your conscious mind can even begin to think. Scientists have discovered something truly fascinating about the timing of how your heart and brain work together. When you encounter any kind of emotional stimulus, whether it's seeing a loved one's face, hearing unexpected news, or walking into a room where there's tension, your heart responds first. Not your brain, not your thoughts, but your heart. In fact, your heart can detect and respond to emotional information anywhere from 1.5 to 5 seconds before your brain's cognitive centers even register that something important is happening. This means that for several precious seconds, your heart is the only part of you that knows what's really going on. Think about what this means for all those moments in your life when you had what people call intuition or gut feelings. That wasn't some mysterious sixth sense or lucky guessing. That was your heart's neural network processing subtle cues in your environment, reading the emotional patterns around you, and sending urgent messages up to your brain through the vagus nerve and other pathways. Your heart was literally thinking faster than your mind, gathering information through its own sensory capabilities and making assessments about safety, connection, truth, and meaning before your conscious thoughts could form. This rapid-fire heart intelligence is particularly skilled at reading people and situations. Your heart can detect micro-expressions on faces, subtle changes in voice tone, and even the electromagnetic patterns that other people's hearts are broadcasting, all below the threshold of your conscious awareness. It's constantly scanning your social environment, asking questions like, is this person trustworthy? Does this situation feel safe? Is there love here or danger? Should I open up or protect myself? And it's answering these questions and sending recommendations to your brain before you've even finished saying hello to someone. The beautiful thing about your heart's quick thinking is that it seems to have access to a different kind of intelligence than your mind does. While your brain is excellent at analysing, categorising and thinking through problems step by step, your heart appears to work more holistically, taking in the whole picture of a situation at once and responding to the overall pattern or feeling. It's like the difference between reading a book word by word and somehow absorbing the entire story in one gentle knowing glance. This is why some of your best decisions probably happened when you somehow just knew what to do, even when logic might have suggested something different. Your heart had already processed all the subtle information about the situation, weighed it against your deepest values and needs, and arrived at its conclusion before your mind started making pros and cons lists. Those moments when you said something like, "I can't explain it, but this just feels right," or "something doesn't feel right about this," weren't failures of logic. They were your heart's intelligence working exactly as it's designed to work. Your heart is also remarkably good at detecting authenticity versus pretense. It can sense when someone is being genuine and when they're putting on an act, often long before your mind has enough information to make that judgment. This is because your heart is reading the coherence between what people are saying, how they're saying it, what their body language is communicating, and even the electromagnetic signature that their own heart is broadcasting. It's like having a very sophisticated truth detector built right into your chest, one that's been quietly protecting you and guiding you toward authentic connections your entire life. Perhaps most remarkably, your heart's fast thinking seems to have a built-in wisdom about timing. It knows when to speed up your pulse to prepare you for action, when to slow down to help you stay calm and centered, and when to create those gentle flutters that signal something meaningful is happening. It's constantly adjusting your body's rhythms to match what your environment and relationships need from you, often making these adjustments before your conscious mind has even assessed the situation. As you rest here tonight, feeling that steady, wise rhythm in your chest, you can trust that your heart is continuing to think and process and care for you, even as you sleep. It's watching over your dreams, maintaining the perfect rhythm for rest and restoration, and preparing to guide you through tomorrow's experiences with its own quiet, lightning-fast intelligence. Your heart has been your fastest, most faithful thinking companion all along. There's a story that cardiologists around the world whisper about in their quiet moments, a story that challenges everything we thought we knew about where memories live. It's about heart transplant recipients who suddenly develop new tastes, new preferences, sometimes even new skills that seem to come from nowhere. A classical music lover who receives a new heart and suddenly craves country music. A vegetarian who finds themselves dreaming about hamburgers. A person who's never been artistic suddenly feeling compelled to paint. These aren't just coincidences or the side effects of powerful medications. They're glimpses into one of the most mysterious aspects of your heart's intelligence. Its ability to store and remember experiences in ways that science is only beginning to understand. Your heart, it turns out, has its own version of what memory experts call a memory palace, a place where experiences are stored not as thoughts or images, but as cellular memories embedded right in the tissue of your cardiac muscle. Every heartbeat, every emotional experience, every moment of joy or sorrow leaves its gentle imprint on the cells of your heart. Unlike the memories stored in your brain, which can fade or change over time, your heart's memories seem to be written in a more permanent language, encoded in the very structure of the cells themselves. Scientists have discovered that heart cells, particularly the neural cells we talked about earlier, have the remarkable ability to store information at the cellular level. This isn't just theoretical. Researchers can actually measure changes in heart tissue that correspond to different emotional experiences. Chronic stress creates one pattern of cellular changes, while experiences of love and connection create completely different patterns. Your heart is literally being shaped by your experiences, becoming a living library of everything you've felt and lived through. This cellular memory isn't just storing random information. It seems to have a particular affinity for emotionally significant experiences, especially those involving relationships, love, loss, and deep meaning. Think about how certain songs can instantly transport you back to a specific moment, creating not just mental memories, but that full-body feeling of being there again. That's your heart's memory palace at work, storing not just the facts of what happened, but the complete emotional signature of the experience. What makes this even more fascinating is that your heart's memories seem to influence your daily life in subtle, but profound ways. That inexplicable feeling of comfort you get in certain places, the way some people just feel familiar even when you're meeting them for the first time, the gentle pull you feel towards certain choices or experiences, these could all be your heart's cellular memory, guiding you based on patterns it has recognized and stored over the years. The heart transplant stories become even more remarkable when you consider this cellular memory system. When someone receives a new heart, they're not just getting a new pump for their blood, they're receiving tissue that carries the cellular memories of another person's emotional experiences. The heart that once beat in rhythm with someone else's joys and sorrows, someone else's loves and fears, now becomes part of a new person's emotional landscape. No wonder recipients sometimes report feeling like they've inherited pieces of their donor's personality or preferences. But you don't need a heart transplant to experience your heart's memory palace. You carry it with you always, this beautiful archive of your emotional life. Every time you feel that familiar tightness in your chest when you're anxious, or that warm expansion when you're filled with love, you're experiencing your heart's memory system at work. Your heart remembers what safety feels like, what danger feels like, what love feels like, and it uses these memories to help guide your responses to new situations. This is why healing from emotional wounds often involves not just changing your thoughts, but also helping your heart release the cellular memories of trauma or pain. Your heart holds onto these experiences as a way of protecting you, remembering the emotional signatures of harmful situations so it can warn you if something similar appears again. But sometimes your heart needs gentle help to learn that it's safe to let go of old protective patterns and create space for new, healthier memories. Traditional healing practices from around the world have always recognized this heart-centered approach to memory and healing. Whether it's the emphasis on heart-opening poses in yoga, the focus on heart coherence in meditation practices, or the understanding that grief needs to be felt in the body as well as processed in the mind, these ancient wisdoms recognized what science is now proving, that your heart is not just a pump but a keeper of memories, a guardian of your emotional history. As you breathe softly tonight, imagine your heart as this beautiful living library, holding all the meaningful moments of your life with tender care. Every person you've loved, every moment of joy you've experienced, every challenge you've overcome, they're all there, safely stored in the gentle memory palace of your heart, contributing to the wise, compassionate intelligence that beats so faithfully in your chest. Right now, as you rest quietly and listen to these words, your heart is having a conversation, not with words or sounds that your ears can hear, but through a sophisticated language of rhythm, timing, and subtle variations that most of us never even notice. Your heartbeat isn't just a steady metronome keeping time in your chest. It's actually a complex communication system, sending detailed messages to your brain and throughout your body with every gentle thump, speaking in a secret language that your nervous system understands perfectly, even when your conscious mind has no idea the conversation is happening. Scientists call this language heart rate variability, and it's one of the most elegant communication systems in your entire body. Between each heartbeat, there are tiny variations in timing, microscopic differences that create patterns more intricate than any Morse code. When your heart is speaking the language of calm and safety, these variations follow smooth, coherent patterns that look like gentle ocean waves when mapped on a computer screen. When your heart is communicating stress or anxiety, the patterns become jagged and chaotic, like a stormy sea of irregular rhythms. What's truly remarkable is that your brain is fluent in this heart language. Every variation in your heartbeat sends specific information up through your vagus nerve to different areas of your brain, influencing everything from your ability to think clearly to how emotionally balanced you feel. When your heart is speaking in coherent, peaceful rhythms, it's essentially telling your brain that all is well, that it's safe to relax, to be creative, to connect with others. When your heart's language becomes incoherent and scattered, it's sending urgent messages that something needs attention, that resources should be diverted to deal with stress or danger. This secret conversation between your heart and brain happens completely below your conscious awareness, but it profoundly influences your daily experience. Have you ever noticed how some days you feel naturally calm and clear thinking, while other days you feel scattered or anxious for no obvious reason? Often, this difference comes down to the quality of communication happening in this heart-brain language. When your heart is speaking clearly and coherently, your brain receives those peaceful messages and responds by releasing neurotransmitters that help you feel centered and capable. When your heart's language is disrupted, your brain interprets this as a sign that something isn't quite right. The beautiful thing about discovering the secret language is that you can actually learn to influence it. Just as you can learn to speak any language more clearly, you can learn to help your heart communicate more coherently with your brain. Slow, deep breathing is like giving your heart elocution lessons, helping it speak in those smooth, wave-like patterns that your brain interprets as safety and well-being. When you breathe in slowly and breathe out even more slowly, you're essentially teaching your heart to speak in its most eloquent, peaceful voice. This heart language also extends beyond your own body in ways that seem almost magical until you understand the science. Your heart creates an electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond your physical body, and this field carries the signature of your heart's rhythmic language. When you're near someone whose heart is speaking in coherent, loving patterns, your own heart can actually begin to synchronize with theirs, like two musical instruments naturally harmonizing. This is why being around calm, loving people feels so soothing, and why being near someone who's anxious or agitated can make you feel unsettled even if they haven't said a word. Mothers and babies are particularly fluent in this shared heart language. Research has shown that when a mother holds her baby, their hearts often synchronize within minutes, speaking to each other in matching rhythms that help regulate the baby's developing nervous system. This same kind of heart-to-heart communication happens between people who love each other deeply, partners who've been together for years, close friends, and even between humans and their beloved pets. Your heart's secret language also changes throughout the day in response to your activities, thoughts, and interactions. It speaks one way when you're engaged in work you love, another way when you're doing something that drains you. It has a particular rhythm when you're in nature, a different pattern when you're in crowded, noisy places. Learning to notice these subtle changes in your heart's communication can become like having an internal guidance system, helping you recognize which environments, activities, and relationships support your well-being and which ones create stress. As you settle into sleep tonight, imagine your heart continuing this gentle conversation with your brain, speaking in the slow, coherent rhythms of rest and restoration. With each breath, you can help your heart speak more clearly, more peacefully, sending messages of safety and calm throughout your entire being. This secret language that's been flowing through you since your very first heartbeat will continue its wise conversation all through the night, helping your body and mind find the perfect rhythm for healing, dreaming, and preparing for tomorrow's gentle adventures. Think about the last time you had to make a difficult decision about a relationship, a job, or a major life change. Do you remember that moment when all the logical pros and cons seemed to balance out, leaving your mind spinning in circles, but then something in your chest quietly whispered, "Which way to go?" That gentle pull you felt, that sense of rightness or wrongness that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than thought, wasn't just wishful thinking or random emotion. It was your heart's emotional compass at work, that remarkable internal guidance system that has been quietly helping you navigate the complex terrain of human feelings and relationships throughout your entire life. Your heart functions as the most sophisticated emotional processing center in your body, far more nuanced and wise than we ever imagined. While your brain is excellent at analyzing and categorizing emotions, your heart actually experiences them, processes them, and integrates them with your deepest values and needs in ways that create genuine wisdom about how to move through the world. Every emotion you feel, from the gentlest flutter of affection to the deepest waves of grief, is being processed through this cardiac emotional intelligence, creating a constantly updated map of what matters most to you. This emotional compass works because your heart has direct connections to the parts of your brain that process feelings, memory, and meaning. When you encounter any situation that has emotional significance, your heart doesn't just pump blood faster or slower, it actively participates in evaluating that situation, cross-referencing it with your stored emotional memories, comparing it to your core values, and generating what we experience as feelings or intuitions about the right direction to take. It's like having a wise counselor living in your chest, one who has perfect memory of every emotional experience you've ever had, and can instantly recognize patterns that your conscious mind might miss. And the remarkable thing about your heart's emotional compass is how it seems to understand authenticity in ways that your thinking mind sometimes struggles with. When someone is being genuine with you, your heart recognizes the coherence between their words, their energy, and their intentions, and you feel that sense of trust and openness in your chest. When someone is being deceptive or manipulative, even if they're saying all the right words, your heart detects the incoherence and creates that subtle feeling of unease or closure that warns you to be cautious. Your heart has become expert at reading the emotional truth of situations, regardless of what the surface appearances might suggest. This emotional wisdom extends to your own authenticity as well. Your heart serves as an internal truth detector for your own choices and behaviors. When you're living in alignment with your deepest values, when you're being true to who you really are, your heart responds with those feelings of expansiveness, peace, and rightness that we associate with being on the right path. When you're acting from fear, people-pleasing, or trying to be someone you're not, your heart contracts, creating feelings of anxiety, emptiness, or disconnection that signal you're moving away from your authentic self. Different cultures throughout history have recognized and honored this heart-centered emotional intelligence. The Arabic concept of qalb refers to the heart as the seat of spiritual and emotional intelligence. Hindu traditions speak of the heart chakra as the center of love, compassion, and emotional balance. Celtic wisdom talks about anamkara, soul friendship, as a heart-to-heart connection that transcends ordinary understanding. These weren't just poetic metaphors, but practical recognition that the heart possesses a different kind of knowing than the mind, one that's particularly skilled at navigating the complex world of emotions and relationships. Your heart's emotional compass is also remarkably good at detecting what you need for your well-being, even when your mind might have different ideas. It knows the difference between excitement that comes from genuine enthusiasm and excitement that comes from anxiety or pressure. It can distinguish between the peace that comes from authentic contentment and the numbness that comes from avoiding difficult feelings. It recognizes when you need solitude versus when you need connection, when you need to push forward versus when you need to rest, when you need to speak up versus when you need to listen. This guidance becomes even more valuable during difficult emotional periods. When you're grieving, confused, or going through major life transitions, your thinking mind often feels overwhelmed and uncertain. But your heart continues to provide gentle direction, pointing you toward the people, places, and activities that will support your healing and growth. It might guide you to spend time in nature, reach out to a particular friend, or simply give yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling without trying to fix or change it. As you rest tonight, take a moment to appreciate this beautiful emotional compass that beats so faithfully in your chest. It has been your constant companion through every feeling you've ever experienced, every relationship you've navigated, every choice you've made. Tomorrow, when decisions arise or emotions surface, you can trust in this gentle guidance system that knows not just what you think you should do, but what will truly serve your deepest well-being and authentic happiness. There are moments in life when your heart quite literally takes charge, overriding your mind's carefully constructed plans and reasoning with a quiet but absolute authority that can be both surprising and profound. Perhaps you've experienced this yourself, that instant when you were about to say yes to something that made perfect logical sense, but suddenly your chest tightened and something deep inside simply said no. Not with words, but with an unmistakable feeling that made continuing impossible. Or maybe you remember a time when your mind was listing all the practical reasons to avoid a risk, but your heart opened like a flower and pulled you forward anyway, toward a choice that changed your life in beautiful ways your logical mind could never have predicted. This isn't rebellion or emotional irrationality, it's your heart's neural network exercising what scientists now recognize as genuine veto power over your brain's decisions. Your heart has the remarkable ability to send such strong signals up to your brain that it can actually stop cognitive processes in their tracks, override logical conclusions, and redirect your entire course of action based on its own deeper assessment of what's truly right for you. It's like having a wise elder living in your chest who occasionally needs to step in and gently but firmly redirect you when your thinking mind has wandered off track. The mechanism behind this cardiac override is fascinating and elegant. When your heart's intelligence detects something that doesn't align with your deepest values, authentic needs, or emotional well-being, it can rapidly alter your heart rate variability in ways that immediately affect your brain's functioning. These changes in rhythm and electromagnetic patterns travel up through your vagus nerve and influence areas of your brain responsible for decision-making, essentially creating a biological pause button that stops you from moving forward with choices that your heart recognizes as harmful or inauthentic. This heart override often happens so quickly and subtly that you might not even realize it's occurring. You walk into a job interview that looked perfect on paper, but something in your chest immediately feels heavy and closed, and somehow you find yourself saying things that ensure you won't get the position. You meet someone who seems ideal according to all your conscious criteria for a partner, but your heart remains completely unmoved, and you discover you have no real interest in pursuing the relationship despite your mind's insistence that you should. You're about to sign a contract or make a commitment that makes financial sense, but suddenly you feel physically unable to pick up the pen, your chest tight with an inexplicable resistance. Sometimes this cardiac wisdom shows up as what people call getting cold feet, but it's actually your heart's intelligence recognizing something about a situation that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. Your heart might detect subtle cues about someone's character, recognize patterns from your past that your memory hasn't consciously recalled, or sense potential consequences that your logical analysis hasn't considered. It's drawing on its vast store of emotional memories and pattern recognition to assess whether a choice aligns with your deepest truth and well-being. The beautiful thing about these heart overrides is that they almost always prove to be wise in retrospect, even when they're inconvenient or confusing in the moment. That job you mysteriously sabotaged might have been with a company that went through major layoffs 6 months later. That relationship your heart rejected despite your mind's approval might have been with someone who would have been fundamentally incompatible with your authentic self. That contract you couldn't bring yourself to sign might have locked you into commitments that would have prevented you from pursuing opportunities that brought far greater fulfillment. Your heart's veto power is particularly strong when it comes to protecting your emotional and spiritual well-being. If you've ever found yourself physically unable to stay in a situation that was emotionally toxic, even when your mind was telling you to be polite or stick it out, that was your heart's protective intelligence taking charge. If you've ever felt compelled to speak up about something important, even when your mind was worried about consequences, that was your heart overriding mental fears to ensure your authentic voice was heard. Learning to recognize and trust these heart overrides can transform the quality of your decision-making. Instead of dismissing these moments as anxiety or irrationality, you can begin to see them as your heart's wisdom offering guidance that your thinking mind alone couldn't provide. Your heart has access to information that your conscious awareness doesn't always include, emotional intelligence that can detect subtleties your logical analysis might miss, and a connection to your deepest values that ensures your choices align with who you truly are. As you settle into peaceful rest tonight, you can trust that your heart will continue to watch over your path with this same protective wisdom. Even in sleep, it maintains its gentle vigilance, processing the emotional residue of the day and preparing to guide you through tomorrow's choices with its quiet but profound authority. Your heart has been your faithful guardian all along, sometimes gently suggesting and sometimes firmly insisting, always working to keep you aligned with your truest and most authentic path through life. Deep within the walls of your heart, in chambers and vessels you've probably never thought about, there's a sophisticated pharmaceutical laboratory working around the clock, quietly producing some of the most powerful and beneficial chemicals your body has ever known. Your heart isn't just pumping blood through your gentle system. It's actually manufacturing and releasing hormones and neurotransmitters that directly influence your thoughts, emotions, and overall sense of well-being. Every beat of your heart is not only circulating life-giving oxygen, but also distributing these heart-made chemicals throughout your body, creating a constant, gentle influence on your mental and emotional state that most of us never realize is happening. One of the most remarkable substances your heart produces is called atrial natriuretic factor, or ANF, a hormone that your heart releases when it senses you need more balance and calm in your system. When your heart detects that your blood pressure is rising, or that stress hormones are building up in your bloodstream, it responds like a wise pharmacist, releasing ANF to help restore equilibrium. This beautiful hormone travels throughout your body, gently encouraging your kidneys to release excess fluid, helping your blood vessels relax, and even influencing your brain in ways that promote feelings of peace and emotional balance. It's like your heart is constantly monitoring your internal state and adjusting your body's chemistry to keep you feeling as centered and healthy as possible. Your heart also produces its own supply of oxytocin, often called the love hormone, though your heart's version works a bit differently than the oxytocin released by your brain. When your heart makes oxytocin, it seems to be particularly focused on creating feelings of connection, empathy, and trust. This heart-produced oxytocin influences not only how you feel about others, but also how you feel about yourself, contributing to that warm sense of self-compassion and acceptance that allows you to be genuinely kind both to yourself and to the people around you. It's as if your heart is constantly brewing small batches of liquid kindness, releasing it into your system whenever you need a gentle reminder of your capacity for love and connection. Perhaps even more fascinating is your heart's ability to produce norepinephrine and dopamine, the same neurotransmitters that your brain uses for motivation, focus, and pleasure. But when these chemicals come from your heart, they seem to carry a different quality than their brain-made counterparts. Heart-produced dopamine appears to be less about seeking external rewards and more about finding genuine satisfaction in meaningful activities and authentic connections. Heart-made norepinephrine seems to provide alertness and energy that feels sustainable and calm rather than jittery or anxious. Your heart is essentially customizing these powerful chemicals to support not just any kind of alertness or motivation, but specifically the kinds that align with your deepest values and authentic well-being. Your heart's chemical production is also remarkably responsive to your emotional state and the quality of your relationships. When you're experiencing genuine love, gratitude, or compassion, your heart increases its production of beneficial hormones in ways that create positive feedback loops throughout your entire system. The more love you feel, the more love-supporting chemicals your heart produces, which makes it easier to feel even more love. The more grateful you are, the more your heart releases substances that enhance your ability to notice and appreciate the good things in your life. It's like your heart is rewarding you chemically for engaging in the emotions and behaviors that support your highest well-being. This chemical intelligence extends to your heart's ability to detect and respond to the emotional states of people around you. When you're near someone who's genuinely calm and loving, your heart can actually shift its chemical production to match their peaceful state, releasing hormones that help you feel more relaxed and connected. Conversely, when you're around someone who's anxious or angry, your heart might increase production of stress response chemicals to help you stay alert and protected. Your heart is constantly reading the emotional chemistry of your environment and adjusting your internal chemistry accordingly. The timing of your heart's chemical releases is also remarkably sophisticated. Your heart knows to increase certain hormone production during times when you need healing, releasing anti-inflammatory substances when you're recovering from illness or emotional trauma. It knows to boost production of calming chemicals when you're trying to sleep and energizing chemicals when you need to be alert and focused. It's like having a personalized medicine dispenser built right into your chest, one that knows exactly what you need and when you need it. What makes this heart-based pharmacy even more remarkable is that you can actually influence its production through your choices and practices. Deep, slow breathing signals your heart to increase production of calming hormones. Focusing on feelings of gratitude and appreciation encourages your heart to release more oxytocin and other connection-supporting chemicals. Engaging in activities that bring you genuine joy prompts your heart to produce more of the substances that support happiness and well-being. As you rest peacefully tonight, imagine your heart continuing its gentle work as your personal chemist, carefully mixing and releasing exactly the right combination of healing, calming, and restorative substances to support your body's renewal and your spirit's peace. This remarkable pharmaceutical laboratory in your chest will work all through the night, ensuring that you wake tomorrow with a perfect chemical foundation for another day of authentic living and loving. There's something almost mystical that happens when two people who deeply care about each other sit quietly together, something that science has only recently been able to measure and understand. Within just a few minutes of being in each other's presence, their hearts begin to synchronize, beating in rhythm with one another as if they're following the same gentle conductor. This isn't poetry or wishful thinking. It's a measurable biological phenomenon that reveals one of the most beautiful aspects of your heart's intelligence, its ability to literally connect with and communicate directly with other hearts around you. Your heart creates an electromagnetic field that extends approximately 8 to 10 feet beyond your physical body, the strongest electromagnetic field that any organ in your body produces. This field carries the signature of your heart's rhythm, your emotional state, and even your intentions and feelings. When you're feeling calm and loving, this field has a coherent, harmonious pattern that feels peaceful to be around. When you're anxious or upset, the field becomes chaotic and scattered, which is why people often say they can feel when someone is stressed even before any words are spoken. What's truly remarkable is that when you're within range of someone else's heart field, your heart can actually detect and respond to their electromagnetic patterns. If you're near someone whose heart is beating in a calm, coherent rhythm, your own heart will gradually begin to match that pattern, a process scientists call entrainment. It's the same phenomenon that causes grandfather clocks in the same room to eventually synchronize their pendulums, except this is happening between the most vital organs in living beings who care about each other. This heart-to-heart synchronization is particularly pronounced between mothers and babies. Research has shown that when a mother holds her infant, their hearts often synchronize within 3 to 5 minutes, creating a shared rhythm that helps regulate the baby's developing nervous system. But this same kind of cardiac connection happens between romantic partners, close friends, family members, and even between humans and their beloved pets. Love, it turns out, has its own electromagnetic signature that hearts can recognize and respond to across space. The quality of your relationships actually influences how easily your heart can sync with others. When you're with someone you trust deeply, someone with whom you feel safe and authentic, the synchronization happens quickly and feels natural and peaceful. When you're with someone who makes you feel guarded or uncomfortable, your heart maintains its own rhythm, essentially protecting you by not allowing that deeper connection to occur. Your heart is constantly making these subtle decisions about who is safe to synchronize with and who should be kept at a gentle distance. This cardiac connection isn't limited to people who are physically close to you. There are documented cases of people who are deeply bonded, particularly mothers and children or long-term partners, whose hearts seem to synchronize even when they're separated by great distances. During times of crisis or intense emotion, it's as if their hearts reach across space to offer comfort and connection. While science doesn't yet fully understand how this long-distance heart communication works, the experiences are too common and too consistent to dismiss as coincidence. Your heart's ability to sync with others becomes particularly important during times of healing or distress. When you're going through a difficult period and you spend time with someone whose heart is in a calm, loving state, their cardiac coherence can actually help restore balance to your own heart rhythm. This is why being around certain people feels so healing and restorative, why a hug from the right person at the right time can literally change how you feel in your entire body. Their heart is offering yours a template for peace and stability. The synchronization also works in groups, creating what researchers call collective heart coherence. When a family, a team, or any group of people who care about each other spends time together in a harmonious state, their hearts can create a shared electromagnetic field that's greater than the sum of its parts. This might explain why certain gatherings feel so nourishing and energizing, why some groups seem to think and feel as one, why being part of a loving community can be so deeply healing and empowering. You can actually encourage this heart synchronization through simple practices. When you're with someone you care about, taking a few moments to breathe slowly and deeply together, focusing on feelings of appreciation and love, creates the ideal conditions for your hearts to find their shared rhythm. This is why practices like partner meditation, synchronized breathing, or even just sitting quietly together while holding hands can create such profound feelings of connection and peace. Your heart's capacity for connection extends beyond humans to the natural world as well. Many people report feeling their heart respond to the rhythms of the ocean, the wind through trees, or the steady presence of mountains and forests. There's something about being in nature that helps your heart remember its connection to the larger rhythms and patterns of life, creating a sense of belonging and peace that urban environments often can't provide. As you settle into sleep tonight, you can rest knowing that your heart continues its gentle work of connection, maintaining its loving electromagnetic presence in the world. Even in sleep, your heart remains available for synchronization with the hearts of those you love, weaving invisible threads of connection that span distance and time, reminding you that love truly is the force that connects all hearts in their shared rhythm of caring and compassion. There's a reason why the phrase broken heart exists in every language and culture around the world, why poets and storytellers throughout history have described emotional pain as something that happens in the chest rather than in the mind. What we've always known intuitively, medicine has now proven scientifically, grief, loss, and emotional trauma can literally break your heart, changing its very shape and function in ways that are both heartbreaking and remarkable to witness. This isn't just metaphorical language or dramatic expression. This is your heart's profound capacity to feel so deeply that intense emotional pain creates actual measurable changes in the cardiac muscle itself. The medical term for this phenomenon is Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, named after the Japanese word for an octopus trap because of the distinctive shape the heart takes on when it's broken by grief. When someone experiences sudden, overwhelming emotional trauma, particularly the loss of a deeply loved person, their heart can literally change shape, with the left ventricle developing a bulge that makes it look remarkably like that traditional fishing basket. The heart muscle temporarily weakens, and for days or weeks the person experiences symptoms that are nearly identical to a massive heart attack, even though their coronary arteries are completely clear. This broken heart syndrome happens because your heart is so intimately connected to your emotional processing that intense grief floods your cardiac system with stress hormones in concentrations that temporarily stun the heart muscle. It's as if your heart, in its wisdom, recognizes that some losses are so profound that the only appropriate response is to literally reshape itself around the absence, to physically embody the transformation that such deep love and loss creates in your entire being. Your heart doesn't just pump blood through the experience of grief, it participates in it, holds it, and allows itself to be changed by it. What's both fascinating and comforting about broken heart syndrome is that it's almost always temporary. Unlike a heart attack caused by blocked arteries, a heart broken by grief typically heals completely within days or weeks. It's as if your heart knows how to hold the intensity of profound loss for exactly as long as necessary, then gradually return to its normal shape and function. But during that healing time, your heart is quite literally learning how to beat again in a world where someone precious is no longer physically present. The broken heart phenomenon isn't limited to the death of loved ones. Your heart can respond this dramatically to any sudden, overwhelming emotional shock. The end of a marriage, the loss of a cherished dream, betrayal by someone you trusted deeply, or even witnessing someone else's profound suffering. Your heart's capacity for empathy is so great that it can break not only from your own losses, but from truly feeling the pain of others. This is why healthcare workers, emergency responders, and anyone who regularly witnesses trauma need to be particularly gentle with their hearts, understanding that repeated exposure to others' suffering can accumulate in the cardiac tissue over time. But here's where the story becomes beautiful rather than just sad. Hearts that have been broken and healed often seem to develop a deeper capacity for compassion, empathy, and love. It's as if the process of breaking and mending creates new neural pathways in the heart's nervous system, new cellular memories that enhance the heart's emotional intelligence. People who have experienced profound loss often report that their capacity for feeling, for connecting with others, for recognizing what truly matters, becomes richer and more refined after their heart has learned how to heal from being broken. The healing process itself is remarkable to witness, both medically and emotionally. As the heart muscle regains its strength and returns to its normal shape, there's often a corresponding shift in the person's emotional state. The overwhelming intensity of fresh grief gradually transforms into something more manageable, though no less meaningful. It's as if the heart teaches the rest of the system how to carry loss in a way that honors the love that created the pain while still allowing life to flow forward. Your heart's ability to break and heal also reveals something profound about the nature of love itself. The fact that your heart can be so dramatically affected by loss suggests that love isn't just an emotion or a choice, but something that literally becomes part of your physical structure. When you love someone deeply, your heart creates neural and cellular patterns that include them as part of your internal landscape. Loss requires your heart to reorganize these patterns, to learn how to beat in a new rhythm that honors the permanent mark that love has left while adapting to the physical absence. This is why rushing the healing process after heartbreak rarely works. Your heart needs time to literally rebuild itself, to create new neural pathways, to develop new rhythms that can hold both the love and the loss together. Gentle patience with your heart during times of grief isn't just emotional wisdom, it's recognition of the real, physical work your heart is doing to reorganize itself around profound change. As you rest tonight, you can send gentle appreciation to your heart for its remarkable capacity to feel so deeply, to break when necessary, and to heal with such patient wisdom. Whether your heart is whole or healing, it continues its faithful work of loving, of feeling, of connecting you to what matters most, proving over and over that the capacity for love is worth every risk of loss, every possibility of breaking, every necessary journey through grief toward a deeper understanding of what it means to truly care. Long before scientists had instruments sensitive enough to measure the 40,000 neurons in your heart or detect the electromagnetic field flowing from your chest, human beings across the world somehow knew that the heart was far more than just a pump. For thousands of years, in cultures separated by vast oceans and centuries of time, people have consistently recognized the heart as the seat of wisdom, intelligence, and spiritual insight. It's almost as if humanity has always possessed an intuitive understanding of what modern science is only now beginning to prove, that your heart truly does think, feel, and know in ways that complement and sometimes transcend the intelligence of your mind. In ancient Egypt, the heart was considered so central to consciousness and intelligence that it was the only organ left in the body during mummification, while the brain was removed and discarded as unimportant. The Egyptians believed that the heart was where thoughts originated, where memories were stored, and where the essence of a person's character resided. They spoke of the heart as the center of life and reasoning, the place where wisdom and foolishness, good and evil, truth and deception were distinguished. In their mythology, after death, the heart was weighed against a feather of truth to determine the soul's worthiness, suggesting they understood that the heart somehow contains the record of how we've lived and loved. Traditional Chinese medicine has always recognized the heart as the emperor of all organs, the supreme ruler that coordinates and harmonizes the entire body's functions. In Chinese understanding, the heart houses what they call Shen, often translated as spirit or consciousness, but really referring to that spark of awareness that makes you uniquely you. Chinese practitioners have long believed that the heart governs not only blood circulation but also mental clarity, emotional stability, and spiritual insight. They recognize that heart imbalance could affect thinking, memory, and the ability to connect meaningfully with others, understanding that cardiac health and mental well-being are inseparably intertwined. Native American traditions speak of heart-knowing as a different and often superior form of understanding compared to mind-thinking. Many tribes have teachings about listening to your heart's voice, about making decisions from the heart center, about the heart's connection to the wisdom of nature and the spirits of ancestors. They understood that the heart has access to knowledge that comes not from learning or analysis, but from a deeper connection to the web of life itself. In their view, the heart doesn't just belong to the individual, but is connected to the hearts of all living beings, creating a network of compassion and understanding that transcends physical boundaries. Hindu traditions locate the heart chakra, called anahata, at the center of the human energy system, recognizing it as the bridge between the earthly and spiritual aspects of existence. Sanskrit texts describe the heart as containing a sacred space where divine consciousness resides, where the individual soul connects with universal love and wisdom. Ancient yogic practices have always emphasized heart-opening poses and heart-centered meditation, understanding that spiritual development requires not just mental discipline, but the opening and purification of the heart's intelligence. Islamic teachings speak of the qalb, the spiritual heart that serves as the center of consciousness and the place where divine guidance is received. Islamic scholars distinguish between the physical heart that pumps blood and the spiritual heart that processes meaning, receives inspiration, and connects the individual to higher wisdom. They understood that the heart could become polished through spiritual practice, becoming a clear mirror that reflects truth and divine qualities, or it could become rusted through neglect, losing its capacity for insight and connection. Celtic wisdom traditions spoke of anamkara, soul friendship, describing connections between people that happen at the heart level, deeper than ordinary social relationships. They recognized that some bonds are formed not through shared interests or convenience, but through a heart-to-heart recognition that transcends explanation. Celtic understanding suggested that the heart has its own form of knowing that can recognize kindred spirits, detect deception, and guide toward authentic relationships and meaningful paths. Even in more recent Western traditions, before the dominance of purely mechanical views of the body, the heart was consistently recognized as central to human nature. Medieval philosophers wrote about the heart as the seat of courage, the source of noble feeling, and the center of moral judgment. Renaissance thinkers understood that great art, music, and poetry came not just from technical skill, but from the heart's capacity to feel deeply and express those feelings in ways that touch other hearts. What's remarkable is how consistent these recognitions have been across cultures that had no contact with each other. From the Arctic to the Amazon, from ancient civilizations to indigenous communities that survive today, human beings have consistently understood that the heart possesses its own form of intelligence, its own way of knowing, its own connection to truth and wisdom that complements but differs from the mind's analytical capabilities. As you rest in the quiet wisdom of tonight, you can feel yourself connected to this ancient understanding, part of a human heritage that has always recognized the heart as far more than a mechanical pump. The same heart intelligence that beats in your chest connects you to thousands of years of human wisdom, to countless generations who understood that true knowledge comes not just from thinking, but from the deeper knowing that flows from an open, aware, and loving heart. Think back to the most important decisions you've ever made in your life, the ones that truly shaped who you became and how your story unfolded. Chances are, the final moment of choosing didn't happen in your head with lists of pros and cons or complex analytical reasoning. Instead, there was probably a quiet instant when something in your chest simply knew, when your heart offered a gentle but unmistakable sense of rightness or wrongness that cut through all the mental noise and pointed you toward your authentic path. This wasn't a failure of logic or wishful thinking. It was your heart's decision-making intelligence at work, that remarkable capacity for integrated knowing that considers not just the facts of a situation, but how those facts align with your deepest values, authentic needs, and soul's true direction. Your heart approaches decision-making in a fundamentally different way than your mind does. While your brain excels at breaking problems down into components, analyzing each piece separately, and constructing logical arguments for different choices, your heart works more holistically, taking in the entire emotional and energetic landscape of a decision all at once. It's like the difference between examining a beautiful painting with a magnifying glass and stepping back to see the whole masterpiece. Your heart can sense the overall pattern, the deeper meaning, the way all the elements work together to create something that serves your highest good or moves you away from it. This cardiac decision-making process draws on information that your conscious mind often doesn't have access to. Your heart's neural network is constantly processing subtle cues from your environment, your relationships, and your own internal state. It's reading the micro-expressions on people's faces, sensing the coherence or incoherence in their energy, detecting patterns that remind it of past experiences stored in your cellular memory. When you're trying to decide whether to trust someone, accept a job offer, or make a major life change, your heart is simultaneously cross-referencing thousands of subtle data points that would overwhelm your conscious mind if you tried to analyze them all individually. Your heart is particularly skilled at detecting authenticity versus appearance, which makes it invaluable for decisions involving relationships, career choices, and life direction. When an opportunity looks perfect on paper, but your heart feels closed or heavy about it, that's often because your cardiac intelligence has detected some form of misalignment that your analytical mind hasn't consciously recognized yet. Maybe the values underlying the opportunity don't match your authentic values. Maybe the energy of the people involved feels depleting rather than energizing. Maybe pursuing this path would require you to compromise parts of yourself that need to remain intact for your well-being. Conversely, when your heart feels open and expansive about a choice, even when your mind can list rational concerns, it's often because your cardiac wisdom recognizes genuine alignment with your soul's direction. Your heart can sense when a decision will allow you to grow, to express your authentic gifts, to connect more deeply with meaning and purpose. It recognizes opportunities for real love, genuine creativity, and authentic contribution to the world, even when those opportunities might involve uncertainty or challenge. The timing of your heart's input in decision-making is also significant. Often, your heart knows long before your mind reaches a conclusion. You might spend weeks or months thinking through a major decision, weighing options and gathering information, only to realize that your heart knew the answer from the very beginning. That initial flutter of excitement, or that immediate sense of contraction when you first heard about an opportunity was your heart's rapid assessment, its instant recognition of whether this choice aligned with your authentic path. Learning to include your heart's intelligence in decision-making doesn't mean abandoning rational thought or ignoring practical considerations. Instead, it means creating a collaborative relationship between your heart's wisdom and your mind's analytical capabilities. Your mind can gather information, consider logistics, and plan implementation, while your heart can assess alignment, authenticity, and deeper meaning. The most satisfying decisions usually come when both your heart and mind are in agreement, when practical wisdom and emotional intelligence work together to choose paths that are both feasible and fulfilling. Your heart's decision-making intelligence becomes even more valuable during times of major transition or uncertainty. When you're facing choices that will significantly impact your future, when the stakes feel high and the outcomes unclear, your heart's ability to sense the deeper currents of your life becomes invaluable. It can guide you toward decisions that honor not just your immediate needs, but your long-term growth and evolution as a human being. Perhaps most importantly, your heart's role in decision-making helps ensure that your choices remain connected to love rather than driven by fear. When decisions come from fear, they often lead to outcomes that feel safe in the short term but limiting or unfulfilling in the long run. When decisions come from your heart's wisdom, they tend to lead toward greater authenticity, deeper connections, and more meaningful engagement with life, even when they involve stepping into the unknown. As you rest peacefully tonight, you can trust that your heart will continue its wise work of guidance, continuing to process the decisions and choices that await you, preparing its gentle counsel for the moments when you need to choose your path forward with both courage and wisdom. Watch a young child for just a few minutes, and you'll witness heart intelligence in its purest, most unfiltered form. Children seem to possess an almost magical ability to sense things that adults miss, to know instantly whether someone is safe or trustworthy, to feel the emotional truth of situations before anyone speaks a word. A toddler will run straight into the arms of a stranger who radiates genuine kindness, while hiding behind their parents' legs when someone with questionable intentions approaches, even if that person is smiling and saying all the right things. This isn't random behavior or childish whimsy. It's their heart's neural network working with crystal clarity, unencumbered by the filters and defenses that adults often develop over time. Children's hearts operate with a natural openness and sensitivity that allows them to read the emotional landscape around them with remarkable accuracy. They haven't yet learned to doubt their cardiac intuition or override their heart's wisdom with social expectations and logical reasoning. When a child says they don't like someone for no reason, they're actually responding to very real information that their heart has detected about that person's energy, intentions, or emotional state. Their heart's electromagnetic sensitivity is still fully active, picking up on the coherence or incoherence in other people's cardiac fields with the precision of a finely tuned instrument. This natural heart intelligence manifests in so many beautiful ways throughout childhood. Young children know instinctively when they need comfort, when they need solitude, when they need to move their bodies or rest quietly. They respond immediately to music that resonates with their heart's frequency, and just as quickly reject sounds or environments that feel jarring to their cardiac sensitivity. They can sense when adults are genuinely happy versus just pretending to be okay, often becoming unusually clingy or concerned when a parent is struggling emotionally, even when the parent thinks they're hiding their feelings perfectly. Children's hearts are also remarkably skilled at detecting authenticity in relationships and situations. They know the difference between adults who genuinely enjoy being around children and those who are just being polite or performing a role. They can sense when praise is genuine versus manipulative, when boundaries come from love versus anger, when someone's attention is fully present versus distracted. Their hearts haven't yet learned to accept substitutes for real connection, real safety, or real care, so they naturally gravitate toward people and situations that offer authentic nourishment for their developing emotional intelligence. Perhaps most beautifully, children's hearts seem to have unlimited capacity for forgiveness and fresh starts. Their cardiac intelligence understands intuitively that people can change, that mistakes don't define someone's entire character, and that love is always renewable. A child can be genuinely upset with a parent or friend one moment and offer completely open-hearted affection the next, not because they have short memories, but because their heart intelligence recognizes that each moment offers new possibilities for connection and understanding. The tragedy is that many children gradually learn to disconnect from this natural heart wisdom as they grow older. Well-meaning adults often teach children to ignore their cardiac intuition in favor of social politeness, logical reasoning, or adult expectations. A child who feels uncomfortable around a particular adult might be told they're being silly or rude, gradually learning to mistrust their heart's protective instincts. A child who feels drawn to pursue an unusual interest or friendship might be redirected toward more conventional choices, slowly disconnecting from their heart's guidance about what brings them joy and meaning. School environments, with their emphasis on analytical thinking and performance-based evaluation, often inadvertently train children to rely primarily on their mental intelligence, while neglecting their heart's wisdom. Children learn to sit still when their hearts are telling them they need to move, to focus on subjects that don't resonate with their natural interests, to compete rather than collaborate when their hearts naturally seek connection and mutual support. Over time, many children's heart intelligence becomes quieter and quieter, overwhelmed by the noise of expectations and obligations. But here's the hopeful truth. Heart intelligence never actually disappears. It might become muted or overshadowed, but it continues to exist, waiting patiently for opportunities to resurface and guide us back toward authenticity and meaningful connection. Adults who learn to reconnect with their heart's wisdom often describe it as remembering something they once knew naturally, reclaiming a capacity that felt familiar even though they hadn't accessed it in years. Supporting children's natural heart intelligence doesn't mean dismissing the importance of developing their analytical minds or learning social skills. Instead, it means helping them maintain access to both forms of intelligence, teaching them that their heart's wisdom is valuable information that can work alongside their thinking minds to make better decisions and create more fulfilling relationships. It means validating their intuitive responses while also helping them develop language to express what their hearts are telling them. As you settle into peaceful rest tonight, you might take a moment to reconnect with your own childhood heart intelligence, that natural wisdom that once guided you so clearly toward what felt safe, authentic, and meaningful. That same capacity for heart-centered knowing still exists within you, waiting to complement your adult wisdom with the pure, loving intelligence that has been your faithful companion since your very first heartbeat. There's a guardian living in your chest that never sleeps, never takes a break, and has been watching over your well-being since before you took your first breath. Your heart doesn't just pump blood through your body, it serves as a sophisticated early warning system, constantly scanning your environment for threats to your physical, emotional, and spiritual safety. This cardiac protection operates so quietly and efficiently that you might never consciously notice it, but it's there in every situation where your heart suddenly speeds up before your mind understands why. Every moment when something in your chest tells you to be cautious, even when everything appears fine on the surface. Your heart's protective intelligence works faster than conscious thought, processing danger signals and initiating protective responses before your analytical mind has time to assess what's happening. When you walk into a room and immediately feel that subtle shift in your chest that says, "Be careful here," your heart has already detected something in the energy, the micro-expressions, or the electromagnetic patterns around you that suggests potential threat. It might be reading tension in people's faces, sensing incoherence in their heart rhythms, or picking up on subtle signs of deception or hostility that your conscious awareness hasn't registered yet. This protection extends far beyond physical danger to encompass threats to your emotional and spiritual well-being. Your heart can sense when someone's intentions toward you aren't genuine, when a situation might compromise your authentic self, or when an opportunity that looks attractive on the surface would actually drain your life force or lead you away from your true path. That feeling of heaviness or contraction in your chest when someone asks you to do something that doesn't feel right isn't anxiety or oversensitivity. It's your heart's intelligence recognizing that this choice would somehow harm your authentic nature or deplete your emotional resources. Your heart's protective instincts are particularly attuned to relationships and social dynamics. It can detect manipulation, even when it's subtle and sophisticated. It recognizes when someone is trying to make you feel guilty, when praise is being used to control rather than genuinely appreciate you, or when someone's kindness comes with hidden agendas or expectations. Your heart knows the difference between people who genuinely care about your well-being and those who see you primarily as a means to meet their own needs, even when both types of people might use similar words or behaviors. This cardiac protection also monitors your internal state, recognizing when you're pushing yourself too hard, when you're ignoring your own needs for too long, or when you're moving away from alignment with your authentic self. Your heart creates feelings of restlessness, emptiness, or disconnection when you're living in ways that don't honor your true nature, essentially warning you that this path isn't sustainable for your long-term well-being. It's like having an internal compass that constantly points toward what nourishes your soul and away from what depletes it. Sometimes your heart's protective instincts manifest as what people call gut feelings about situations or people, though these feelings often originate in your cardiac intelligence rather than your digestive system. That inexplicable reluctance to get into a car with someone, that sudden urge to leave a party early, that nagging feeling that something isn't quite right about a business deal or relationship, these are all examples of your heart's protective wisdom offering guidance before your mind has enough information to reach logical conclusions. Your heart's protection can be so subtle that you might mistake it for moodiness or irrationality. You might find yourself feeling cranky or closed off around certain people without being able to explain why, only to discover later that those people were indeed problematic in ways you couldn't consciously detect at the time. You might feel inexplicably drawn to avoid certain situations or make choices that seem inconvenient or illogical, only to find out that those choices protected you from difficulties you couldn't have foreseen. The beautiful thing about your heart's protective instincts is that they're rooted in love rather than fear. While fear-based protection often involves building walls, avoiding all risks, or becoming defensive and suspicious, heart-based protection is more like having a wise, loving parent who gently guides you away from harm while encouraging you toward growth and authentic connection. Your heart's protection doesn't want to keep you isolated or small. It wants to help you navigate the world in ways that allow you to remain open and loving while staying safe and aligned with your truth. Learning to recognize and trust your heart's protective guidance can transform your relationship with decision-making and personal boundaries. Instead of relying solely on logical analysis or social expectations to determine what's safe or appropriate, you can learn to include your heart's wisdom in assessing situations and relationships. This doesn't mean becoming paranoid or overly cautious, but rather developing the ability to distinguish between fear-based reactions and genuine protective guidance from your cardiac intelligence. Your heart's protective instincts also extend to the people you care about. Parents often describe suddenly feeling worried about their children for no apparent reason, only to discover later that the child was indeed in some kind of trouble or danger. Long-term partners sometimes sense when something is wrong with their loved one, even when they're physically separated. This protective love seems to create energetic connections that allow hearts to watch over each other across time and distance. As you rest peacefully tonight, you can appreciate this faithful guardian that has been protecting you throughout your entire life. This loving intelligence that never stops watching over your well-being with the tenderness of perfect love and the wisdom of profound care. There's a state of being that your heart can create, a gentle internal harmony that transforms not only how you feel, but how clearly you think, how deeply you connect with others, and how gracefully you move through even the most challenging situations. Scientists call this state heart coherence, and it represents something like the heart's own form of meditation, a naturally occurring rhythm that synchronizes your entire nervous system into a pattern of optimal functioning. When your heart achieves coherence, it's as if all the different instruments in the orchestra of your body suddenly begin playing in perfect harmony, creating a symphony of well-being that radiates outward into every aspect of your life. Heart coherence happens when your heart rate variability shifts into a smooth, sine wave-like pattern that looks remarkably similar to the gentle rolling of ocean waves. Instead of the jagged, erratic rhythms that characterize stress and emotional turbulence, your heart finds a steady, flowing cadence that signals to your entire nervous system that all is well, that it's safe to relax, to think clearly, to feel deeply, and to connect authentically with the world around you. This isn't just a metaphor for feeling better. It's a measurable physiological state that can be seen on sophisticated monitoring equipment and felt in every cell of your being. When your heart enters coherence, remarkable things begin to happen throughout your body and mind. Your brain waves shift into patterns associated with clarity, creativity, and insight. Your immune system strengthens its ability to protect and heal you. Your digestive system relaxes and functions more efficiently. Even your hormone production shifts towards substances that support well-being, connection, and resilience. It's as if your heart's coherent rhythm becomes a tuning fork that brings every other system in your body into optimal alignment, creating the perfect internal environment for health, happiness, and authentic self-expression. The beautiful thing about heart coherence is that you don't need any special equipment or training to begin experiencing it. Your heart naturally moves toward coherence when you engage in certain simple practices that signal safety and connection to your nervous system. Breathing slowly and deeply, particularly when you extend your exhale to be longer than your inhale, creates the perfect conditions for coherence to emerge. Focusing on feelings of genuine appreciation, gratitude, or love while you breathe this way amplifies the effect, helping your heart find that smooth, peaceful rhythm more quickly and sustain it more easily. What's particularly remarkable about coherent heart rhythms is how they seem to enhance your emotional intelligence and intuitive capabilities. When your heart is in coherence, you become more sensitive to the subtle emotional and energetic information in your environment. You can read people's moods and intentions more accurately, sense what others need from you, and respond to situations with a wisdom that seems to come from somewhere deeper than analytical thinking. It's as if the coherent state opens channels of perception and understanding that are normally cluttered by the noise of stress and mental preoccupation. Heart coherence also has profound effects on your relationships and social interactions. When your heart is in a coherent state, that peaceful rhythm creates an electromagnetic field that others can sense and respond to, even unconsciously. People tend to feel calmer, safer, and more open around someone whose heart is coherent, which creates positive feedback loops that enhance connection and communication. Couples who practice heart coherence together often report feeling more understood, more connected, and better able to work through conflicts with compassion and clarity. The practice of cultivating heart coherence becomes particularly valuable during challenging times. When you're facing stress, uncertainty, or emotional difficulty, taking a few minutes to breathe slowly while focusing on something you genuinely appreciate can help your heart find its coherent rhythm, which in turn helps your entire system respond to challenges from a place of centered strength rather than reactive anxiety. This doesn't make problems disappear, but it does give you access to your full intelligence and wisdom for addressing whatever you're facing. Many people find that regular practice of heart coherence creates lasting changes in their baseline emotional state and stress resilience. Like a muscle that grows stronger with exercise, your heart's ability to find and maintain coherent rhythms improves with practice, making it easier to access this peaceful state even during busy or demanding periods. Over time, coherence can become your heart's default mode, rather than something you have to consciously create, leading to greater overall well-being, clearer thinking, and more satisfying relationships. The ripple effects of heart coherence extend beyond your individual experience to influence your family, workplace, and community. When you're operating from a coherent heart state, you contribute to what researchers call collective coherence, a phenomenon where groups of people can synchronize their heart rhythms and create shared fields of harmony and cooperation. This is why some gatherings feel so nourishing and productive, while others feel chaotic or draining, regardless of the specific activities or topics involved. As you settle into sleep tonight, you can invite your heart to find its natural coherent rhythm by breathing slowly and gently while bringing to mind something or someone you truly appreciate. Feel how this simple practice creates a subtle but profound shift in your entire being, a gentle wave of peace that flows from your heart throughout your body, preparing you for restorative sleep and peaceful dreams. Your heart's capacity for coherence is always available to you, a built-in pathway to peace that requires nothing more than your breath, your attention, and your willingness to connect with the love that lives within you. Long before any creature on Earth had what we would recognize as a brain, there were hearts. Primitive hearts, simple hearts, hearts that were just clusters of cells that learned to contract in rhythm, pushing life-giving nutrients through the earliest forms of complex life. If you could travel back hundreds of millions of years and witness the ancient oceans where life first began to organize itself into more sophisticated forms, you would see something remarkable. Hearts came first. The ability to create rhythm, to move resources through a living system, to respond to the needs of the organism as a whole. This cardiac intelligence preceded the development of centralized nervous systems by vast spans of evolutionary time. The earliest hearts were simple tubes that contracted in waves, but even these primitive organs possessed something extraordinary. They could sense changes in their environment and adjust their rhythm accordingly. They could speed up when the organism needed more energy, slow down during times of rest, and create the steady pulse that would become the foundation for all future life. These ancient hearts were making decisions, processing information, and responding to their world with a form of intelligence that was perfectly suited to the task of sustaining life. In many ways, they were the first thinking organs, the original biological computers that learned to read the needs of living systems and respond with appropriate action. As life evolved and became more complex, something fascinating happened. Instead of being replaced by more sophisticated organs, the heart's intelligence became more elaborate and refined. New layers of neural networks developed within the cardiac muscle. Specialized cells emerged that could detect chemical signals, respond to electrical impulses, and communicate with other parts of the developing nervous system. The heart didn't lose its original wisdom, it enhanced it, building upon millions of years of experience in reading the rhythms and needs of living systems. When the first recognizable brains began to develop in more complex creatures, they didn't override the heart's intelligence. Instead, they formed partnerships with it. The emerging nervous system seemed to recognize that the heart had access to information and wisdom that the brain couldn't replicate. The vagus nerve, that crucial connection between heart and brain, developed as a sophisticated communication highway that allowed these two centers of intelligence to share information and coordinate their responses to the world. Evolution favored creatures whose hearts and brains worked together rather than in competition. What's truly remarkable is how this ancient heart intelligence persists in modern humans, carrying forward hundreds of millions of years of evolutionary wisdom about survival, connection, and the subtle rhythms of life. Your heart's ability to detect danger before your conscious mind understands what's happening draws on patterns and instincts that were refined over countless generations of creatures who survived because their hearts could read their environment accurately. Your heart's capacity for empathy and connection evolved from the earliest organisms that discovered they could thrive better in cooperation than in isolation. The heart's role in processing emotions also has deep evolutionary roots. Long before humans developed complex language or abstract reasoning, creatures needed ways to quickly assess whether situations and other beings were safe or dangerous, beneficial or harmful. The heart's emotional intelligence evolved as a rapid response system that could make these crucial distinctions in milliseconds, helping organisms make life or death decisions about approach or avoidance, trust or wariness, fight or flight. Your heart's ability to read people's intentions and detect authenticity draws on this ancient wisdom about navigating social relationships for survival and thriving. Even your heart's capacity for love and attachment has evolutionary significance. Creatures whose hearts could form strong bonds were more likely to successfully raise offspring, create cooperative groups, and develop the kind of social support systems that enhanced survival. Your heart's ability to create feelings of connection, loyalty, and caring isn't just a beautiful human trait, it's a sophisticated evolutionary strategy that has been tested and refined over millions of years of life on Earth. The electromagnetic field that your heart generates, that remarkable energy signature that can influence other hearts and be influenced by them in return, may represent one of the most ancient forms of communication on the planet. Before sound, before visual signals, before any form of language, living systems may have communicated through electromagnetic fields, sharing information about their internal states and coordinating their activities through subtle energetic exchanges. Your heart's ability to sync with other hearts could be accessing this primordial form of connection that predates all other forms of communication. Perhaps most wonderfully, your heart carries forward the memory of every stage of this evolutionary journey. The steady rhythm that comforts you connects you to the first hearts that ever beat. Your heart's ability to respond to music and beauty echoes the earliest organisms that learned to detect harmony and coherence in their environment. Your heart's capacity for resilience and healing draws on billions of years of experience in adapting to challenges and recovering from difficulties. As you rest peacefully tonight, you can feel yourself connected to this vast evolutionary journey, your heart beating with the accumulated wisdom of countless generations of life that learn to thrive, to love, to survive, and to flourish. Every heartbeat connects you to the grand story of life itself, carrying forward the intelligence that has guided living systems through every challenge and every triumph, now beating quietly in your chest as the eternal rhythm of life continuing its beautiful, endless journey through time. Your heart's intelligence isn't static or unchanging throughout your life. Like a wise companion that grows and learns alongside you, your heart develops new capacities, deeper wisdom, and more refined understanding with each stage of your journey through life. The heart that beats in a newborn baby carries different gifts than the heart of a teenager discovering first love, which in turn differs from the heart of a parent learning to love with fierce protection, or the heart of an elder who has weathered decades of joy and sorrow. Each stage of life brings its own unique expression of cardiac intelligence, its own lessons in what it means to feel, connect, and navigate the world with an open, aware heart. In the earliest moments of life, your heart possesses a pure instinctual intelligence that knows exactly what it needs for survival and thriving. A baby's heart beats with the rhythm of complete trust, expecting that the world will provide safety, nourishment, and love. This infant heart intelligence is remarkably sensitive to the emotional states of caregivers, synchronizing almost immediately with the heart rhythms of parents and creating those profound bonds that form the foundation for all future relationships. The baby's heart knows how to communicate its needs through the language of rhythm and electromagnetic fields, drawing caring adults into connection and cooperation long before words or conscious thought develop. As children grow, their hearts develop increasing sophistication in reading social and emotional environments. The toddler's heart learns to distinguish between different types of safety and danger, different qualities of attention and care. It begins to understand that some people can be trusted completely, while others require more caution, that some environments support authentic expression, while others demand protective adaptation. This childhood heart intelligence is beautifully flexible, capable of remarkable resilience and healing, able to forgive quickly and love again with startling openness, even after disappointment or hurt. The adolescent heart faces perhaps one of its greatest challenges and opportunities for growth. Suddenly flooded with new hormones and expanding awareness, the teenage heart must learn to navigate intense emotions, complex social relationships, and the confusing process of developing individual identity while maintaining connection with others. This stage often brings the heart's first experiences of romantic love, heartbreak, and the discovery that emotional pain can be as intense as physical pain. Yet the adolescent heart also develops remarkable courage, idealism, and passion, learning to care deeply about causes, relationships, and possibilities that extend far beyond immediate self-interest. Young adult hearts develop what might be called purposeful intelligence, learning to integrate emotional wisdom with practical decision-making about career, relationships, and life direction. This is often when the heart learns to balance its desire for authentic expression with the practical requirements of building a stable, sustainable life. The young adult heart becomes skilled at reading potential partners, assessing career opportunities, and making choices that honor both immediate desires and long-term well-being. It's during this stage that many hearts learn to trust their own guidance over external expectations and social pressures. The hearts of parents and caregivers undergo a profound transformation that expands their capacity for love in ways they often never imagined possible. Parental heart intelligence develops an exquisite sensitivity to the needs and emotions of their children, often sensing distress or joy before the child has even expressed it. This stage teaches hearts about protective love, selfless caring, and the beautiful challenge of holding space for another person's growth and learning. Parent hearts learn to love with both fierce protection and gentle letting go, supporting their children's development while gradually allowing them the freedom to follow their own heart's guidance. Middle-aged hearts often develop a deeper form of emotional intelligence that comes from having experienced enough of life to recognize patterns, cycles, and the temporary nature of both joy and sorrow. This stage frequently brings what could be called wisdom intelligence, the heart's growing ability to maintain perspective during difficult times and to appreciate simple pleasures more fully. Middle-aged hearts often become more skilled at forgiveness, both of others and themselves, and more capable of loving with realistic expectations rather than idealistic projections. The hearts of elders carry perhaps the most refined and sophisticated emotional intelligence of all. Having weathered decades of love and loss, joy and sorrow, success and failure, elder hearts often develop a profound capacity for compassion, acceptance, and peace. They've learned which battles are worth fighting and which are better released, which relationships deserve investment and which are better loved from a distance. Elder hearts often radiate a quality of unconditional love that younger hearts aspire to, having learned through experience that love itself is more important than any particular outcome or circumstance. What's beautiful about this developmental journey is that each stage builds upon the wisdom of previous stages while adding new capacities and understanding. Your heart carries within it the memory of every stage it has experienced, the pure trust of infancy, the passionate idealism of youth, the protective love of parenthood, the seasoned wisdom of maturity. As you rest tonight, you can appreciate your heart exactly as it is in this moment, honouring both the journey it has already taken and the continued growth and learning that awaits it in the stages yet to come. In the quiet corners of medical conferences and the private conversations between cardiologists, there exists a collection of stories that challenge everything we thought we understood about the relationship between hearts and identity. These are the stories of heart transplant recipients who suddenly develop new preferences, new memories, even new skills that seem to come from nowhere, but which somehow connect them to the lives of their organ donors in ways that science is only beginning to comprehend. These aren't isolated incidents or wishful thinking. They're documented cases that suggest your heart carries far more than just the mechanical function of pumping blood. It appears to hold fragments of consciousness, pieces of personality, and cellular memories that can survive the transition from one body to another. Dr. Paul Pearsall, a neuropsychologist who spent years studying these phenomena, documented case after case of transplant recipients whose lives changed in inexplicable ways after receiving their new hearts. A classical musician who received the heart of a young man killed in a car accident suddenly found himself drawn to country music and fast cars. A conservative businessman developed an overwhelming love for art and began painting with a skill he'd never possessed before, only to discover later that his donor had been a passionate artist. A middle-aged woman who had never shown interest in children became deeply maternal and eventually learned that her donor had been a young mother who died tragically, leaving behind small children. What makes these stories particularly compelling is the specificity and consistency of the changes. Recipients don't just develop vague new interests. They often acquire very particular preferences, specific knowledge, or distinct personality traits that can be traced directly to their donors when the medical teams investigate. A man who received the heart of a motorcycle enthusiast suddenly knew mechanical details about engines he'd never studied. A woman who had been afraid of water her entire life became an accomplished swimmer after receiving the heart of a former lifeguard, as if the muscle memory of swimming had somehow transferred along with the organ itself. The medical community has struggled to explain these phenomena within the conventional understanding of how memory and personality are stored and expressed. Traditional neuroscience tells us that memories live in the brain, that personality is shaped by neural networks in the head, and that the heart is simply a pump with no capacity for storing complex information. Yet the evidence from transplant recipients suggests that this model might be incomplete, that the heart's 40,000 neurons and complex cellular structure might indeed be capable of storing and transferring aspects of consciousness in ways we're only beginning to understand. Some researchers propose that these changes might be explained by what they call cellular memory, the idea that cells throughout the body, not just in the brain, can store information about experiences, preferences, and even learned behaviours. The heart, with its dense concentration of neural tissue and its intimate connection to the autonomic nervous system, might be particularly capable of this kind of cellular storage. Every emotion, every significant experience, every deeply felt moment might leave its imprint not just in the brain, but in the very tissue of the heart itself. The electromagnetic properties of the heart add another layer of possibility to these mysteries. Since the heart generates the strongest electromagnetic field in the body, one that extends several feet beyond the physical form, it's conceivable that this field somehow carries information about the person's consciousness, their emotional patterns, their deeply held beliefs and preferences. When a heart is transplanted, it might bring with it not just the organ itself, but also the electromagnetic signature of its previous owner's consciousness. What's particularly moving about these transplant stories is how they often seem to serve a purpose beyond just scientific curiosity. Recipients frequently report feeling a profound connection to their donors, a sense of gratitude that extends far beyond the gift of life itself. Some describe feeling as though they're carrying forward aspects of their donors' unfulfilled dreams or unexpressed love. A mother who lost her child might find comfort in knowing that some part of her child's essence continues to live and create and experience joy in another person's body. The families of donors often find these stories equally meaningful, sometimes recognizing aspects of their loved one's personality or interests showing up in the recipient's new behaviors. For them, these phenomena offer a form of comfort and connection, a sense that death isn't the complete ending they had feared, but rather a transformation that allows certain qualities of their loved one to continue expressing themselves in the world. While science continues to investigate and debate these transplant mysteries, the experiences themselves point to something profound about the nature of consciousness and the heart's role in storing and expressing our deepest essence. They suggest that when we talk about someone having a good heart, or following their heart's desire, we might be speaking more literally than we ever imagined. As you rest peacefully tonight, you can appreciate the remarkable organ beating in your chest, not just as a pump, but as a keeper of your essence, a living library of everything you are and everything you've experienced. Your heart holds the unique signature of your consciousness, the irreplaceable pattern of your being that makes you distinctly, authentically you. There's a moment that every artist, writer, musician, and creator knows intimately, though it's almost impossible to describe in words. It's that instant when inspiration strikes, when something beautiful wants to be born through you, when you suddenly know exactly what colors to mix, what words to write, or what melody wants to emerge. If you pay close attention to your body during these moments of creative breakthrough, you'll notice something remarkable. The inspiration doesn't begin in your head. It starts as a feeling in your chest, a gentle expansion or flutter in your heart that signals something important is about to flow through you. This isn't coincidence or poetic imagination. It's your heart's intelligence recognizing and responding to the subtle frequencies of creativity and beauty that surround us always, waiting for hearts that are open enough to receive them. Your heart possesses a unique form of intelligence that's particularly attuned to patterns, rhythms, and harmonies, making it exquisitely sensitive to the kinds of subtle coherence that characterize truly beautiful and meaningful creative expression. While your analytical mind excels at technique, structure, and refinement, your heart seems to have direct access to the deeper currents of inspiration that give creative work its soul, its authenticity, its power to move and transform others. When artists talk about creating from the heart, they're describing a very real physiological process where the heart's neural networks participate actively in the creative process, offering guidance about what resonates with truth and beauty versus what feels forced or artificial. This heart-centered creativity works differently than mind-based problem-solving or technical skill development. When you create from your heart's intelligence, there's often a quality of effortlessness, of flow, where the work seems to create itself through you rather than being forced into existence by willpower or analytical thinking. Your heart recognizes when you're aligned with authentic creative expression and responds with feelings of expansion, energy, and deep satisfaction. When you're creating from ego, fear, or external expectations rather than authentic inspiration, your heart contracts, creating feelings of struggle, emptiness, or disconnection that signal you've moved away from true creative flow. Musicians and composers often describe feeling the music in their chest before they hear it in their minds, sensing the emotional landscape of a piece through their heart's response to different harmonic possibilities. Visual artists frequently report that they know a painting or sculpture is working when it creates a particular feeling in their chest, a sense of rightness or completion that their heart recognizes even before their eyes can fully analyze what makes the composition successful. Writers often discover that their most powerful prose comes not from clever plotting or sophisticated vocabulary, but from allowing their heart's truth to flow onto the page, trusting their cardiac intelligence to guide them toward words that carry authentic emotional resonance. Your heart's role in creativity extends beyond individual artistic expression to influence how you respond to and appreciate beauty in all its forms. When you encounter art, music, literature, or natural beauty that truly moves you, your heart often responds before your mind has time to analyze why. That sudden intake of breath when you see a stunning sunset, the way certain songs make your chest feel full and expanded, the tears that come when you read words that capture something you've always felt but never been able to express. These are all examples of your heart's intelligence recognizing and resonating with authentic beauty and truth. This cardiac creativity is also deeply connected to your capacity for innovation and problem solving in areas that extend far beyond traditional arts. Scientists, inventors, entrepreneurs, and visionaries often report that their most breakthrough insights come not from logical analysis, but from sudden knowing that feels like it originates in their chest. Your heart's pattern recognition abilities seem particularly skilled at perceiving connections and possibilities that linear thinking might miss, offering creative solutions that emerge from a more holistic understanding of complex situations. The heart's electromagnetic field may also play a role in creative inspiration and collaboration. When groups of people are creating together in harmony, their hearts often synchronize, creating a collective field that seems to enhance everyone's access to inspiration and creative flow. This might explain why some creative partnerships produce work that's greater than the sum of what either person could create alone, or why certain creative communities and environments seem to foster extraordinary innovation and artistic achievement. Developing your heart's creative intelligence often involves learning to trust those subtle feelings and impulses that arise in your chest during creative work. Instead of immediately subjecting every creative impulse to mental analysis or criticism, you can learn to follow your heart's guidance about which ideas want to be explored, which directions feel alive and authentic, which projects resonate with your deepest truth and purpose. This doesn't mean abandoning skill development or thoughtful refinement, but rather allowing your heart's wisdom to guide the overall direction and authentic core of your creative expression. Your heart's creativity is also intimately connected to your capacity for vulnerability and authentic self-expression. The most moving creative work often comes from artists who are willing to let their hearts be seen, to share their deepest truths and most tender feelings through their chosen medium. This requires the kind of courage that can only come from trusting your heart's intelligence, believing that your authentic emotional truth is worth sharing, and that others will recognize and resonate with the honesty and beauty of your open heart. As you settle into peaceful rest tonight, you can appreciate your heart as not just the keeper of your emotions and relationships, but as your creative partner, your inspiration detector, your guide toward authentic self-expression that serves both your own fulfillment and the beauty of the world around you. There's something magical that happens in your chest when you encounter true beauty, something that occurs so quickly and so automatically that you might never have consciously noticed it before. The moment your eyes fall upon a painting that speaks to your soul, or your ears receive the first notes of a song that seems written just for you, your heart responds with its own form of recognition, its own way of saying, yes, this is real, this is true, this matters. This isn't just an emotional reaction or aesthetic appreciation happening in your mind. It's your heart's intelligence actively engaging with the frequencies and patterns of beauty, recognizing in art and music the same coherence and harmony that it seeks to create within your own being. Your heart responds to music in ways that are both immediate and profound, ways that scientists are only beginning to understand and measure. When you hear music that truly moves you, your heart doesn't just continue its steady rhythm unchanged. It begins to entrain, to synchronize, to participate in the musical experience in the most literal sense. Your heart rate variability shifts to match the emotional content of the music, creating coherent patterns during peaceful melodies and more complex rhythms during intense or dramatic passages. It's as if your heart is dancing along with the music, adding its own rhythm to this symphony of sound and meaning flowing through your awareness. This cardiac response to music seems to be particularly sensitive to authenticity and emotional truth in artistic expression. When a musician is singing or playing from a place of genuine feeling, when their own heart is fully engaged in the creative expression, your heart recognizes this authenticity and responds with openness and resonance. You've probably experienced this yourself, the way certain performances move you to tears or give you chills. While technically perfect but emotionally disconnected performances leave you feeling unmoved despite their obvious skill. Your heart is reading the emotional coherence behind the artistic expression, detecting whether the artist is creating from their authentic truth or simply demonstrating technical proficiency. Visual art creates a different but equally profound response in your cardiac intelligence. When you stand before a painting, sculpture, or photograph that truly speaks to you, your heart often responds with immediate recognition, a sudden opening or expansion that feels like coming home to something you've always known but never seen expressed so clearly. This happens because your heart is extraordinarily sensitive to visual harmony, to the balance of colours, shapes, and forms that create coherence and beauty. Your heart can detect the artist's emotional state and intention through the visual patterns they've created, reading the energy and feeling that was poured into the work during its creation. The electromagnetic field that your heart generates seems to play a particularly important role in how you respond to art and music. Beautiful artistic expression has its own electromagnetic signature, its own pattern of coherence and harmony that can be detected and appreciated by your heart's sensitive field. When you encounter art that was created from a state of love, inspiration, or authentic expression, your heart's electromagnetic field resonates with these qualities, creating that feeling of expansion and recognition that tells you you're in the presence of something meaningful and true. Your heart's response to beauty also seems to be deeply connected to memory and personal meaning, but in ways that extend beyond your conscious recollections. Sometimes you'll encounter a piece of music or art that moves you profoundly even though you're certain you've never experienced it before. This might be your heart recognizing patterns or frequencies that connect to cellular memories, ancestral experiences, or the deeper patterns of beauty and harmony that seem to be woven into the fabric of life itself. Your heart carries within it a template for recognizing truth and beauty that goes beyond your individual experience. The healing power of art and music seems to work primarily through your heart's intelligence and its ability to restore coherence and harmony to your entire system. When you're stressed, anxious, or emotionally unsettled, exposing yourself to beautiful music or art that resonates with your heart can literally help reorganize your nervous system into more peaceful and balanced patterns. Your heart entrains to the coherence present in the artistic expression, and this cardiac coherence then influences your breathing, your brain waves, and your overall emotional state. Different types of art and music seem to activate different aspects of your heart's intelligence. Gentle, flowing music helps your heart find peaceful, coherent rhythms that promote relaxation and healing. More dynamic rhythmic music can energize your heart and help it generate patterns associated with motivation and joyful engagement. Sacred or spiritual art often evokes responses in your heart that feel transcendent, as if your cardiac intelligence is recognizing and resonating with higher frequencies of love, compassion, and connection. Your heart's ability to appreciate beauty also serves as a guide for authentic self-expression and meaningful choices in your daily life. When you pay attention to how your heart responds to different forms of beauty, you begin to understand your own authentic aesthetic preferences, the kinds of environments, relationships, and activities that truly nourish your soul. Your heart becomes a sophisticated detector for recognizing and choosing experiences that support your highest well-being and most authentic self-expression. As you rest peacefully tonight, you might take a moment to appreciate your heart's remarkable capacity for recognizing and responding to beauty in all its forms. This same intelligence that can be moved to tears by a perfect melody or expanded by a breathtaking painting is always available to guide you toward the authentic beauty and harmony that your soul most deeply craves and deserves. Just as you can strengthen your muscles through gentle, consistent exercise, you can develop and refine your heart's intelligence through simple, nurturing practices that help your cardiac wisdom become clearer, stronger, and more accessible in your daily life. Your heart's neural networks, like all aspects of your nervous system, respond beautifully to attention and practice, growing more sophisticated and reliable the more you engage with them consciously. The wonderful thing about training your heart intelligence is that it doesn't require any special equipment, expensive courses, or dramatic lifestyle changes. It simply asks for your gentle attention, your willingness to listen, and your patience as you learn to recognize and trust the quiet wisdom that has been beating in your chest all along. The foundation of heart intelligence training begins with learning to pay attention to your heart in a new way, not just as the organ that keeps you alive, but as a source of information, guidance, and wisdom. Throughout your day, you can begin to notice how your heart responds to different situations, people, and choices. Does your chest feel open and expansive when you're around certain people, or does it contract and feel protected? Does your heart rate shift when you're considering different options or facing decisions? Does something in your chest feel lighter when you think about pursuing certain paths and heavier when you consider others. This gentle noticing without judgment or the need to immediately act on what you observe begins to strengthen the communication pathways between your conscious awareness and your heart's intelligence. Breathing practices offer one of the most accessible and effective ways to enhance your heart's coherence and clarity. When you breathe slowly and deeply, particularly when you make your exhale longer than your inhale, you're creating optimal conditions for your heart to find its most coherent, peaceful rhythms. Try spending a few minutes each day breathing in for a count of 4 and out for a count of 6, while gently focusing your attention on the area around your heart. As you do this, imagine breathing directly through your heart center, as if your heart has its own set of lungs that can draw in peace and release tension with each gentle breath. The practice of heart-focused appreciation serves as both training and nourishment for your cardiac intelligence. Several times throughout your day, you can pause for just a moment to bring to mind something or someone you genuinely appreciate, allowing yourself to feel that warm sense of gratitude in your chest rather than just thinking about it in your head. This might be appreciation for your morning coffee, for a friend's kindness, for the sunshine streaming through your window, or for your own resilience in handling life's challenges. The key is to actually feel the appreciation in your heart area, noticing how this positive emotion creates a sense of expansion and warmth in your chest. Learning to distinguish between your heart's voice and other internal voices takes practice and patience. Your heart's guidance typically feels gentle, expansive, and aligned with love and authenticity, while mental chatter tends to be more urgent, analytical, or driven by fear and social expectations. Your heart's wisdom often comes as a subtle knowing, a sense of rightness or wrongness, a feeling of opening or closing rather than as specific words or detailed instructions. The more you practice paying attention to these subtle signals, the clearer they become, and the easier it is to distinguish heart wisdom from mental noise. Body awareness practices can significantly enhance your ability to receive and interpret your heart's intelligence. Since your heart communicates through physical sensations, electromagnetic patterns, and changes in your overall energy, developing sensitivity to these subtle physical cues helps you access your cardiac wisdom more readily. This might involve learning to notice the difference between anxiety and excitement in your chest, recognizing when your heart feels open versus protected, or sensing the quality of energy around your heart when you're in different environments or relationships. Creating regular quiet time, even just a few minutes each day, gives your heart space to communicate without the constant noise and demands of busy life. This doesn't have to be formal meditation, though that can certainly be helpful. It might simply be sitting quietly with your morning tea, taking a peaceful walk without podcasts or music, or spending a few minutes in bed each night before sleep, gently checking in with how your heart is feeling about the day you've just lived and the day that's coming tomorrow. Practicing heart-centered decision-making, starting with small, low-stakes choices, helps build trust in your cardiac intelligence. When deciding what to eat, which route to take home, or how to spend your evening, you can experiment with asking your heart what feels most nourishing or authentic, then notice what happens when you follow that guidance. As you build confidence with smaller decisions, you can gradually apply heart intelligence to more significant choices about relationships, work, and life direction. The beautiful thing about training your heart intelligence is that the practice itself is inherently peaceful and nourishing. Unlike forms of training that require pushing through discomfort or forcing yourself to improve, developing your heart wisdom feels more like coming home to yourself, like remembering a natural capacity that was always there waiting for your attention and care. As you settle into sleep tonight, you can appreciate the gentle training your heart receives simply through your loving attention, your willingness to listen, and your growing trust in the wise, caring intelligence that beats so faithfully in your chest, always ready to guide you toward authentic happiness and meaningful connection. In quiet laboratories around the world, scientists are peering deeper into the mysteries of your heart than ever before. Using technologies so sophisticated, they can measure the electromagnetic patterns of individual cardiac cells and track the neural networks in your heart with the same precision once reserved for brain research. What they're discovering is painting a picture of heart intelligence that's far more remarkable and complex than even the most heart-centered traditions ever imagined. We're standing at the threshold of a new understanding of consciousness itself, one that recognizes your heart not as a simple pump, but as a sophisticated information processing center that may hold keys to some of the deepest questions about human awareness, connection, and the nature of love itself. Researchers are developing increasingly sensitive instruments that can detect and measure the heart's electromagnetic field with extraordinary precision, revealing patterns and frequencies that were invisible to earlier technologies. These new tools are showing that your heart's electromagnetic signature is as unique as your fingerprint, carrying information about your emotional state, your health, your relationships, and even your intentions in ways that can be read and interpreted by sophisticated sensors. Scientists are beginning to understand that this cardiac electromagnetic field isn't just a byproduct of the heart's electrical activity, but an active communication system that carries information between hearts and may even influence consciousness and decision-making in ways we're only beginning to fathom. The emerging field of cardiac neuroscience is revealing that your heart's 40,000 neurons are organized into complex networks that show remarkable similarities to brain tissue, but with their own unique properties and capabilities. Future research is likely to map these cardiac neural networks with the same detail that neuroscientists have mapped the brain, potentially revealing specialized circuits for different types of emotional processing, memory storage, and decision-making. We may discover that different areas of your heart's nervous system handle different aspects of intelligence, creating a cardiac equivalent of the brain's specialized regions for language, memory, creativity, and social understanding. One of the most exciting frontiers in heart intelligence research involves studying the quantum properties of cardiac consciousness. Some researchers are exploring whether the heart's neural networks operate according to quantum mechanical principles, potentially explaining phenomena like intuition, long-distance heart connections between loved ones, and the mysterious transfer of personality traits in heart transplant cases. If these quantum theories prove correct, we may discover that your heart has access to information and ways of knowing that transcend the limitations of classical physics, operating in dimensions of reality that we're only beginning to understand. The study of heart-brain communication is revealing increasingly sophisticated two-way information highways between your cardiac and cranial intelligence centers. Future research may identify specific neural pathways that allow your heart to influence different brain regions, potentially leading to new therapeutic approaches for depression, anxiety, PTSD, and other conditions that involve dysregulation between heart and brain communication. We may learn to enhance cognitive function, emotional resilience, and creative capacity by optimizing the quality of communication between these two centers of intelligence. Advances in understanding cellular memory are opening new possibilities for comprehending how experiences, emotions, and even aspects of personality might be stored throughout your body, with your heart serving as a particularly important repository for emotionally significant memories. Future research may reveal the mechanisms by which hearts store and transfer information, potentially explaining transplant personality changes and pointing toward new approaches for healing trauma and enhancing emotional intelligence. The emerging science of collective heart coherence is exploring how groups of people can synchronize their cardiac rhythms and create shared fields of consciousness that enhance cooperation, creativity, and collective intelligence. Researchers are studying families, teams, and communities to understand how heart synchronization affects group dynamics and performance. This research may lead to new understanding of leadership, education, and social organization based on principles of cardiac coherence rather than purely hierarchical or competitive models. Technological developments are making it possible to monitor and train heart intelligence in real time, with devices that can track heart rate variability, electromagnetic coherence, and cardiac neural activity throughout daily life. Future applications may include personalized heart intelligence coaching, biofeedback systems that help optimize cardiac coherence, and even technologies that can detect and respond to the emotional information carried in your heart's electromagnetic field. The intersection of heart intelligence research with artificial intelligence is creating fascinating possibilities for understanding consciousness and creating more emotionally intelligent machines. As we learn more about how your heart processes emotional information and contributes to decision-making, we may be able to create AI systems that incorporate heart-like intelligence, leading to technologies that can respond to human emotional needs with greater sensitivity and wisdom. Perhaps most importantly, heart intelligence research is beginning to provide scientific validation for many practices and beliefs that have been part of human wisdom traditions for thousands of years. This convergence of ancient knowledge and modern science may lead to new approaches to education, healthcare, and personal development that honor both the analytical intelligence of the mind and the emotional, intuitive intelligence of the heart. As you rest peacefully tonight, you can imagine yourself as part of this great unfolding discovery, your heart contributing its own unique intelligence to humanity's growing understanding of consciousness, connection, and the remarkable capacities that lie hidden within every beating heart. The future of heart intelligence research promises to reveal that your heart is even more wonderful, more intelligent, and more central to human consciousness than we ever dared to imagine. When you begin to truly understand that your heart possesses its own remarkable intelligence, something beautiful shifts in how you move through your days, how you make choices, and how you relate to yourself and others. Living with heart awareness doesn't mean abandoning logic or ignoring practical considerations. Instead, it means expanding your definition of intelligence to include the gentle wisdom that flows from your chest, creating a partnership between your mind's analytical capabilities and your heart's deeper knowing. This integration transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for authentic connection, meaningful choice, and the kind of fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with your truest self. Heart-aware living begins each morning with a simple but profound practice, checking in with your cardiac companion before you rush into the demands of the day. As you wake, before reaching for your phone or beginning your mental to-do list, you can place a gentle hand on your chest and take a moment to sense how your heart is feeling. Is there excitement about something in the day ahead? Anxiety about a challenging situation? Peaceful contentment? Tired from processing yesterday's experiences? This isn't about judging or trying to change what you find, but simply acknowledging your heart as a source of valuable information about your inner state and needs. Throughout your day, heart awareness transforms how you navigate relationships and social interactions. Instead of relying solely on verbal communication and mental analysis to understand others, you begin to include the information your heart provides about people's energy, intentions, and emotional states. You might notice how your chest feels open and relaxed around certain colleagues, while feeling slightly contracted or protected around others. This cardiac intelligence helps you adjust your level of openness and vulnerability appropriately, sharing more of yourself with those who feel safe and maintaining healthy boundaries with those who don't, all without having to consciously analyze every social dynamic. Decision-making becomes a collaborative process between your heart and mind when you live with cardiac awareness. Before making choices, especially important ones, you can pause to consider not just the logical pros and cons, but also how each option feels in your chest. Does thinking about accepting that job offer create a sense of expansion and excitement in your heart? Or does it feel heavy and constrictive? Does the relationship you're considering feel genuinely nourishing to your cardiac intelligence? Or does something in your chest whisper cautions that your mind wants to dismiss? This doesn't mean making impulsive emotional decisions, but rather gathering all available intelligence, both mental and cardiac, before choosing your path forward. Heart-aware living also transforms how you respond to stress and challenges. When difficulties arise, instead of immediately jumping into mental problem-solving mode or emotional reactivity, you can first ground yourself in your heart's wisdom. A few moments of slow breathing while focusing on your chest can help your heart find its coherent rhythm, which in turn helps your entire nervous system respond to challenges from a place of centered strength rather than scattered anxiety. This cardiac grounding doesn't make problems disappear, but it gives you access to your full intelligence and creativity for addressing whatever you're facing. Your relationship with your own emotions deepens significantly when you understand your heart as an intelligent processing center, rather than just a source of feelings to be managed or controlled. Instead of trying to think your way out of difficult emotions or judging yourself for feeling what you feel, you can approach your emotional life with curiosity and respect for your heart's wisdom. Sadness, anger, fear, and joy all carry important information from your cardiac intelligence about what matters to you, what needs attention, and how well your life is aligned with your authentic values and needs. Living with heart awareness also enhances your capacity for creativity and authentic self-expression. When you're considering creative projects, career moves, or ways to contribute to the world, your heart's intelligence can guide you toward expressions that feel genuinely meaningful, rather than just impressive or profitable. Your heart knows the difference between work that energizes your soul and work that depletes it, between creative expression that flows from authentic inspiration and that which comes from ego or external pressure. Perhaps most beautifully, heart-aware living naturally cultivates compassion, both for yourself and others. When you understand that everyone carries their own form of heart intelligence, their own emotional wounds and wisdom, their own attempts to navigate life with whatever tools they have, it becomes easier to respond to others with patience and understanding. Your heart's capacity for empathy grows as you learn to sense the emotional reality behind people's behaviors, recognizing when someone's difficult actions might be coming from fear, pain, or their own disconnection from their cardiac wisdom. Heart awareness also brings a deeper appreciation for the present moment and the simple experiences that truly nourish your soul. Your heart is exquisitely sensitive to beauty, authenticity, and genuine connection, helping you recognize and savor the moments that matter most. A conversation with a friend, time in nature, music that moves you, acts of kindness given or received, all become more vivid and meaningful when experienced through your heart's appreciative intelligence. As you settle into peaceful rest tonight, you can appreciate how living with heart awareness isn't about perfection or always making the right choices, but about honoring the full spectrum of your intelligence and trusting in the partnership between your analytical mind and your wise, loving heart. This integration creates a life that feels more authentic, more connected, and more aligned with who you truly are beneath all the roles and expectations. As we come to the gentle end of tonight's journey into the remarkable world of your heart's intelligence, I want you to take a moment to feel that faithful rhythm in your chest with new appreciation, new understanding, and perhaps even a sense of wonder at the incredible companion that has been with you through every moment of your life. Right now, as you rest in the quiet comfort of this evening, your heart is continuing its amazing work, not just pumping blood through your peaceful body, but thinking, processing, remembering, and preparing to guide you through whatever tomorrow might bring with its own unique form of loving wisdom. Tonight, you've discovered that your heart is so much more than you ever imagined. It's a thinking organ with 40,000 neurons creating their own neural networks, a memory keeper storing the emotional essence of every meaningful experience you've ever had, a sophisticated communication system speaking in the secret language of rhythm and electromagnetic fields. You've learned that your heart can think faster than your mind, override your brain's decisions when they don't align with your authentic truth, and connect with other hearts across space in ways that seem almost magical, until you understand the beautiful science behind them. Your heart, you now know, has been your faithful guardian and guide all along, protecting you from harmful situations with its early warning systems, drawing you toward people and experiences that nourish your soul and offering its own form of intelligence about what serves your highest good. It has weathered the storms of your life with remarkable resilience, learning to break and heal, to hold both joy and sorrow with equal grace, to love again after loss with a capacity that grows deeper rather than smaller, with each experience of caring deeply. This incredible organ in your chest carries within it the wisdom of millions of years of evolution, the accumulated intelligence of countless generations of hearts that learn to survive, to thrive, to love, and to guide their humans toward authentic happiness and meaningful connection. Your heart holds memories not just from your own life, but from the vast story of life itself, connecting you to the eternal rhythm that has sustained consciousness through every challenge and celebration in the history of living beings. As you breathe slowly and deeply, letting your body sink into complete relaxation, you can trust that your heart will continue its wise work throughout the night. While you sleep, it will maintain the perfect rhythm for rest and restoration, processing the emotional experiences of today, integrating new learning into its cellular memory, and preparing its gentle guidance for tomorrow's choices and challenges. Your heart doesn't need your conscious attention to do this work, but now that you understand its intelligence, you can rest with even deeper appreciation for the remarkable consciousness that shares your body and your life. The partnership between your heart and mind that we've explored tonight isn't something you need to force or perfect. It's a natural collaboration that grows stronger simply through your awareness and appreciation. Tomorrow, when decisions arise or emotions surface, you'll have new understanding of the wisdom available to you, new respect for the intelligence that beats so faithfully in your chest, new trust in the guidance that has been there all along waiting for you to listen. Your heart's capacity for love, connection, and authentic guidance is limitless, growing more refined and wise with every breath, every experience, every moment of conscious appreciation you offer it. The same intelligence that has guided you safely through every day of your life so far will continue to be your faithful companion, your inner counselor, your connection to the deeper currents of meaning and purpose that flow through your existence. As you drift towards sleep, imagine your heart surrounded by gentle appreciation for all it has done, all it continues to do, and all the wisdom it holds for your future growth and happiness. Feel how this appreciation creates a warm, soft energy in your chest, a recognition of the profound gift it is to have such an intelligent, caring, wise companion literally at the center of your being. The story of your heart's intelligence is really the story of love's intelligence, the understanding that consciousness and caring are woven together in ways that science is only beginning to comprehend. Your heart thinks with love, decides with love, remembers through love, and guides you always toward more love, more authenticity, more connection with what matters most deeply in your life. So rest now, beautiful soul, knowing that you are held and guided by intelligence far greater than you ever imagined, wisdom more loving than you ever dreamed, and a faithful companion that will continue to beat with perfect dedication through all the adventures and discoveries that await you. Your heart's intelligence is working even now to ensure that you wake tomorrow refreshed, restored, and ready to live with greater awareness of the remarkable gift of consciousness that flows through your chest with every gentle, wise, loving heartbeat. Sweet dreams, and may your heart's wisdom bless your sleep with peace, your dreams with beauty, and your tomorrow with authentic joy.